Winter has hit Chimney Creek Farm hard. Our pipes freeze and burst and the garden struggles through minus 5.5 degree mornings. And we run out of water yet again. We escape for a freezing lakeside camping trip, enjoy some incredible bird life, and reflect on how far we've come before returning home to finally discover what has been killing our chickens. Good morning. It's currently 6:29 in the morning and it's minus 5.2 degrees. It's just one of those winter mornings where you just need to stay in bed just that little bit longer. The garden has taken an absolute hiding from the cold and dry conditions, and frost just covers everything almost every morning at the moment. And while many of the plants are struggling, the cabbages seem to be loving it, and so are the wattles. And the next morning it is minus 3.7 degrees Celsius. The mornings have been unbelievably icy, and frost blankets the grass, garden beds, fences and cars, and everything seems to sparkle white until the sun finally rises high enough to begin thawing it out. The chooks don't seem to be worried about the cold weather though. So one morning I decided to take a trip to Casino to visit my auntie who is in a nursing home and I haven't seen her for a long time. So I left really early in the morning while it was still below zero outside, and there was so much ice covering the car that we could scrape it off and make it into a snowball. It has been absolutely freezing.
Snowball!
I had to be careful that morning because there was still frost all over the road. It's a 4-hour round trip to Casino and back, but in the end it was all fine, and we had a lovely time together. While I was away for the day, Paul turned the compost pile and gave it a really good watering. Turning it adds oxygen and keeps the whole thing moist, both of which help the microorganisms break everything down and generate heat. Keeping a good compost bay is really about creating the right environment for beneficial microbes. First, the pile needs a balance of nitrogen-rich green materials such as fresh grass clippings, vegetable scraps, and manure, carbon-rich brown materials such as dry leaves, straw, and shredded cardboard. We also had some yellow-tailed black cockatoos visit the farm. They spent their time ripping bark from the trees, which might look very destructive, but they're usually just searching for wood-boring grubs and insect larvae hiding underneath the bark, and their powerful beaks help them tear into the timber to reach their food. Sometimes the cockatoos actually eat some of the nutrient-rich living wood beneath the bark, which is okay for small areas. It won't kill a healthy mature tree, but repeated or extensive stripping can injure branches, especially if the bark is removed all the way around. But also they do this because chewing helps maintain their constantly growing beaks as well. The yellow-tailed black cockatoo is one of the 6 species of black cockatoo in Australia, and in recent years it's been in rapid decline because of native habitat clearance, with a loss of food supply and nest sites. They have a long breeding season, and both sexes construct a nest, which is usually a large tree hollow lined with wood chips. And the female incubates the eggs while the male supplies her with food, and usually only one chick survives, and this will stay in the care of its parents for about 6 months.
Okay.
So the next morning I thought it was minus 3.7 degrees again, but Paul just yelled out that on the little device it says it's actually minus 4.7 degrees right now. One morning it dropped to minus 5.5 degrees Celsius and the water inside our pipes froze solid and the pressure busted one of the tap connections. On mornings like that, we can't really get any water out of the pipes until 9 or 10 o'clock when everything finally begins to defrost. Paul and I had to head out to Gundawindi for some work, so we decided to make a little trip of it and camp beside the lake at Inglewood. It was absolutely freezing, but the bird life was incredible. Even Truffles get some extra entertainment. The birds are regularly flying into the camp and cautiously creeping towards her bowl of dried dog biscuits. And Truffles just noticing them, but instead of chasing them away, she's just simply sitting there and watching them as they edge closer and closer to her food. I'm not sure whether she's guarding her biscuits or just enjoying the show. For those of you that have been watching our channel for a long time, you'll know that when things get hard for me, I need nature to sort of give me some sort of sense of peace and healing. So this is just exactly what I needed at this time. I'm not really familiar with these darker coloured birds, but I think they might be apostle birds. They were everywhere and they were not shy. So I've only got about 2 months left before I finish my Diploma of Sustainable Living. The assessments have kept me incredibly busy, which is one of the reasons why I haven't had so much time to make many videos lately. On top of that, losing my dad and also some big changes at work has kept me really busy. They were also jumping all over our things for our leftovers as well, so I had to eventually scare them away. I would have never known how to tell the difference between an Australian magpie and the butcher bird in the past, but now that I'm getting into all these granny hobbies, I can tell you that the butcher bird normally has a white chest below the black throat, and the magpie has mostly the black chest. So there you go. A huge flock of galahs flew overhead in formation, and as they twisted and turned together, they looked like a great moving sea of white.
White galahs.
It was so peaceful sitting beside the lake, watching the swans and pelicans glide across the water. For a little while, everything felt calm. But when we got back home to the farm, we discovered that another one of our chickens had been killed, but this time we finally saw what has been taking them, a red fox. What have you done with our chook?
I was trying to set up the trap, but...
Even more concerning was that it started coming into the farm like around the chickens in the middle of the day. So we knew we would have to keep our eyes peeled because we couldn't simply afford to lose another chicken. On a happier note though, our compost has now heated up to the perfect temperature, all that turning and watering has paid off. And so now it should eventually become some beautiful, rich compost for the garden. And sadly for the fox, Paul eventually had to kill it. It wasn't something we took pleasure in, but protecting our chickens had to come first.
Little foxy bubby. Yeah, there's a girl.
Oh, that's a bit sad. At first we thought the fox was a female, but I think after looking it up and doing a bit of research, it seems that it was possibly a male. And another winter positive is all our wattle trees are out in flower. So the bok choy and the radish and the dill and all of that is still handling the cold really well, and the peas. And there's parsley in there as well. We also created a new garden bed with that bathtub that we've filled up with soil, and I'll just have to put a little bit of mulch on top. And our comfrey's suffering from probably the cold again as well. Our green mustards are doing really well. I am a little bit worried about the turmeric that my dad gave me though. I'm hoping that that's going to survive. It's just the little sprout has become very dry. So, and the agave is not happy at all. The cabbages are doing really well, but inside my little archway that I had covered with frost cloth, and I thought these chilies and capsicums were going to make it through the winter, all of these have died, as well as the dwarf Cape gooseberries. But one of these chili plants has a few chilies that are almost perfect on it, ready to pick, so I'll grab those and I'll cut these plants down. And then the other thing is that I've started picking our carrots, so they're a good size. They're probably not the best shape, but they are tasting amazing. And I also picked some silver beet for dinner as well. And the taste is just out of this world when you grow your own food. And it, you know, when I'm peeling the carrots, even the smell of your own freshly grown carrots is so strong compared to when you buy carrots from the supermarket. So it's just a totally different experience. So the last few nights for our dinner, what we've picked from our own garden has taken about half a plate. So I'm pretty happy with that. It's incredibly satisfying, especially after seeing how much the garden has been enduring. During the coldest weeks of winter, I don't usually sow too many seeds. Instead, I use this quieter time to prepare the garden beds for spring and keep on top of the weeds while it's still cool enough to work outside comfortably. Winter is also a season for slowing down and resting, something I'm learning to allow myself to do. And now to give them a wash and get them ready for dinner. I might take a bit of this silver beet too. I like all the different colours on the plate. So this was our harvest for tonight. Thankfully, Mum came to the rescue again and bought us another truckload of water. We're incredibly grateful because the dry weather hasn't let up, even though the temperatures have plummeted. But you know what else also makes you feel really positive is baking an impossible pie using the eggs from our own chickens. a simple, comforting meal after another cold and eventful stretch of life here on Chimney Creek Farm. Thank you so much for listening and coming along on our journey with us.